Hi everyone, it's John and welcome to another edition of Cozy, Charming, Crazy Real Estate, where we talk about everything real estate. Today we're going to talk about the top 10 real estate myths. We're going to expose each of the top 10, and if you have any that you want to suggest for a future list of myths, please enter them in the comments below. If you have any questions about any of these myths, please also put your questions below. So let's get started. We're going to count down from starting with number 10. Number 10, if a room has a closet, it's a bedroom. Now you may see variations of this. You may see someone who's selling a home say, oh, this is a 5-bedroom home. And that 5th bedroom, well, they added a closet, they added a window, they may have added an interior door. They may have done all the physical things required to meet the building code in the town or county, wherever they are located. And however, if they have not received a permit from the governing authority that says, hey, we do permit this as a bedroom, technically it is not a bedroom. And when you are selling a property where a conversion like that has taken place, you are required to disclose that, hey, this bedroom is a conversion, it is not permitted. My preference when I'm representing a seller is we're going to say, okay, we have 4 bedrooms permitted, we have another one that can have alternate uses. You can call it a bonus room or a swing room, anything you want, but technically I don't like to call it a bedroom because if it doesn't have a permit. Number 9, easements are agreements between property owners that expire when a property is sold. In reality, most easements are which is the being able to use another person's property or to allow another person to use your property to, let's say, go across the front of your property, maybe to get to theirs on a shared driveway, things like that. Typically, those are permanent easements. You can get them removed by mutual consent between the property owner and the property who's using the property. So it's not like they can never be removed, but they cannot be automatically removed at time of sale. Now there are temporary easements, and we shouldn't be confused with those. Those are typically, they call them TCEs, or temporary construction easements, where somebody may need to go across another person's property to do construction on an adjacent property, or they may need to store items temporarily on a property when they're working at a different property. However, those easements are temporary. They're for a specific start and stop time, and usually the person who owns the land is compensated for those. But indeed, those do go away after the specified time. Number 8, buyers and sellers must split closing costs according to local custom. Not true. Now, when you buy or sell a property in a certain area, I've sold and purchased properties in probably 6 or 7 of the 15 counties in the San Francisco Bay Area, and many of them are different depending on which side of the bay you're on at the time. Some may say, well, this is a cost that is typically in our area paid by the buyer, or this is a cost that may be paid by the seller. In reality, you do not have to abide by any local customs, and there are no laws. Now, wherever you are, please check with a licensed agent and make sure that there are no local ordinances that are governing that. But in general, all closing costs may be negotiated between buyer and seller. In a related myth, number 7, real estate broker commissions are set by law, regulation, or local customs. Again, you may find that in certain areas where property is in great demand, you may find that commissions are a little higher. If the demand is a little lower, the agents may generally feel that they need to discount their commission just to get work or to attract clients. And however, commissions are always negotiable. Again, I am in the state of California where I live and work, and where I am a licensed broker, and in California, commissions are always negotiable. I would check with your broker where you are if you're outside California and make sure that there's no local regulations. But however, you should find that there are none, because it's very, very unusual. Number 6, seller must repair all items needing repair that appear on the buyer's inspection report. In reality, as long as all disclosures that are required by law are given to the buyer, um, as long as the buyer has had an property inspection done, and they know what all the problems are with the property that could be discovered, the seller is under no obligation, unless there is a local ordinance requiring it, for them to fix anything. So again, you may find that in some areas they might want a sewer, the city might require a sewer line fixed, or very common in the Bay Area, there are sidewalk ordinances, there are tree ordinances that talk about at time of transfer there needs to be an inspection, maybe a repair if it's an item the local ordinance requires. But again, talk with your broker. But in general, repairs are kind of like closing costs and commissions. They are negotiable. If you're a seller and you're selling the house as is, especially if you're a trustee or you were selling a house for a family member that passed away and you've never lived there, you're not going to live there, you're just trying to liquidate the house as easily and quickly as possible, any of those repairs may become negotiable items, but very few are required by law. Number 5, lawn and garden tools, hoses, and other personal property items present when the buyer comes through and does an inspection on the property is automatically included in the sale of that property. Hoses, swimming pool, cleaning equipment, things like that, chemicals, all that stuff is personal property. If it is not screwed down, the seller can at any time remove it from the property, unless it is written into the contract very specifically, or that item is included in the bill of sale, which is very common when a seller is selling, let's say, a lot of garden tools or personal property that goes along with it. Instead of including it in the real estate contract, they might include it in a side deal called a bill of sale that closes at the same time as the house is sold, and those items might be listed in there. However, if they are not, the seller, that's personal property, and the seller can take it with them. Number 4, all homes listed for sale by licensed agents must be published in the MLS. Well, most agents are members of the MLS, and the MLS system, the multiple listing service system, typically has regulations that require its members to publish properties for sale in the MLS system. Now, it is still the seller's decision whether or not they want their property listed. Now, the agent may say, hey, listen, I have to list it. The system requires it, or else I'm in violation. And the seller can say, I don't care. For some reason, they don't want a sign, they don't want it on the internet. It is always their decision. The agent will just have to ask them to sign 1 or 2 papers that can be then sent into the MLS that state in writing that the seller has opted out of the MLS. So that is normally possible. The property does not have to be in there. Number 3, verbal agreements and handshakes are legally binding. I would again check with your agent where you are. However, here in the state of California, they are not enforceable. A handshake is not an enforceable agreement. They call it out here, of all things, the statute of frauds. And statute of fraud says that all real estate transactions must be in writing. Now, the key term is enforceable. If 2 people want to get together and shake hands on a deal and make that deal happen, that's between them. However, if you do a handshake deal and and one of the parties decides they want to pull out, It may be a question of honor between the two, but as far as a question of legality or civil rights pertaining to the sale, um, the courts are going to say, hey, you didn't have a contract, most likely. If you find yourself in that predicament, I would, of course, recommend speaking with an attorney to get all your legal rights. But as far as a civil matter, you're probably going to find that where you are, you also have to have that full contract in writing to make the agreement enforceable. Okay, number 2, final mortgage approval is final. It's never final. Now, you may get a pre-approval letter, you may get an approval letter at different stages during the mortgage application and property purchase process. However, during that process, you as let's say as a buyer or refinancing homeowner, are going to be checked, double checked, maybe even triple checked, all the way up until the time that that transaction closes. And by what I mean by checked is that the day, let's say you're going to close escrow, you're buying a house, and the morning that escrow is to close, there's two main things that are going to happen before you get the keys and the seller gets his money wired to him. And that is the step 1 is the bank is going to wire money to escrow. Step 2, once that money is received, the escrow company then starts in motion getting a grant deed recorded. And once that grant deed is recorded, then the sale is considered complete. Escrow will then send money to whoever is due, and a copy of the deed will go out, and everything will be done. However, right before they wire that money, a lot of lenders will reconfirm your credit. They will reconfirm your employment. And you talk to anybody who's been in the mortgage business a long time, and they will tell you, oh yeah, I had a guy and who quit his job the day before escrow closed. Or he quit his job that morning. An hour later, the mortgage company called his employer to verify employment, only to find out that he had quit. Or perhaps, let's say that morning, a buyer goes out and buys a new Lamborghini on his Visa card, which now appears on his credit report, and totally takes him out of qualification. So always talk to your agent, talk to your lender, and make sure that you don't violate any of the requirements of the mortgage, because all the way up until that thing is funded, they are going to be running checks to verify your information and qualifications. And you talk to escrow officers that have been in business for a while, and they'll tell you that they have probably seen at least one loan that was called back after everything was completed on the morning of closing. The funds were wired to escrow, and then something came up afterwards that might have been either an administrative error or evidence of fraud or suspicion of fraud, and all of a sudden that lender pulls the money back before the deed is done. So you definitely want to talk to your agent, talk to your lender, make sure you're following the rules. Mortgage approval is not final until the deed is done. Number 1, Realtor and Realtor are the same thing. Now, Realtor, all in lower cases, is obviously slang for a real estate agent. However, just to put a little historical context on it, Realtor in all uppercase with a circle R behind it, it designates a person who is a member of the National Association of Realtors. Now, do you have to be licensed to be a member of the National Association of Realtors? Yes, you normally do. Maybe with some exceptions of people who are associate members, who are, let's say, appraisers, or they could be lenders, or they're not necessarily real estate salespeople. However, the word realtor was created by the National Association of Realtors. They have defended that trademark quite a bit. And as a member, as I am, of the National Association of Realtors, I honor their requirement that as a member, I only use the all caps Circle R realtor designation when I refer to myself or to other agents who are also realtors. And I'd never use the lowercase slang because technically that's a violation of the trademark. And even though may see even a lot of NAR members do it, that's just something I prefer not to do. And I honor that trademark. So everyone who says, hey, I'm a realtor is not necessarily a member of the National Association of Realtors. So those are the top 10 myths. If you have a myth, again, please leave a comment below. If you have any questions or challenges, perhaps, to whether or not something I mentioned is or is not a myth, please leave a comment below. I hope if you like this video, you will go ahead and hit like and, of course, subscribe, and we will be back next week with another edition of Cozy, Charming, Crazy Real Estate. See you then.